So today we have the Model X versus the Juniper Refresh Model Y. So it's really hard to come up with a better trio right here. You have the Cybertruck, the Refresh Model Y, and the Model X right here. Such a great combo. So today we're gonna specifically talk and kind of compare the Model Y versus the Model X. Which one should you buy? So first and foremost, let's talk about cost. Honestly, the Model Y, for the value, everything about it, it's such a great car for that price point. Model X is going to be more expensive. So to put it this way, Model Y, the refresh variant, starts at $49,000. Now, I have a launch series, so as tested is going to be closer to 65. FSD is a large part of that increase. Whereas a Model X starts at 85,000, as tested closer to 100,000. We have the 6-seat variant, we have FSD, with a white interior, etc. So there is a pretty big price delta here. Model X is probably 1 3/4 of a Y. So you can almost buy 2 Ys for the price of an X. And these prices actually are pre any incentive. So depending on states, you might have different incentives. Depending on the federal government with what happens, you might have different incentives. But that's just the MSRP. But that being said, is the Model X that much more premium? Let's go ahead and jump in and look at all the interior, the space, everything, and see which one is best for you. So when we're talking about vehicles, they are in different classes. I would say the Model Y is more of like a crossover, whereas the Model X is more the size of like a small mid-size SUV. The X feels so spacious in here. Like it feels like there's space for days. We have the 6-seat variant, which we absolutely have loved because it allows far more room in the back for passengers. Typically, we only have 2 to 4 people in the car, so it's almost like the same layout as the front, just with captain's chairs. But we also do have the 2 extra seats in the back, so if I'm ever holding like 5 or 6 people, they can actually put their legs down that middle here if they are taller. We absolutely love the Model X. The interior feels super premium. Now we have carbon fiber in this one, but for non-plaids you would get a wood option, but we had upgraded that afterwards. But like the center screen size is gonna be bigger in the X. You're gonna have that second screen right here, and that's gonna be in the Model X, but not in the Y. Now, yes, there are aftermarket options. The phone chargers are gonna be in both the Y and the X. The X's now have actually full wheels like the Y. RX actually has the yoke, and I love the yoke, so we're definitely gonna have to put that in the Y. But also the X, you get this massive windshield right here, which honestly I think is why the X feels so much roomier. It is a bigger vehicle, so it's to be kind of presumed there, but it's just like feels so roomy with this higher ceiling, so there's gonna be more distance here than there would be in the Y because the Y is a shorter vehicle. But overall, it just feels massive. I'll say the Falcon wing doors in the X, amazing. The sound system, amazing. Now we have a launch series Model Y that's also got a really, really good sound system. Other things in the Model X that you won't get in the Y, things like air suspension. And I love the air suspension, don't get me wrong. The new Y suspension is really, really nice, especially compared to the previous gen. But when it comes to air suspension, it's hard to beat that. You're also gonna get a 6-seat option in the Model X that you can't get in the Y. Now, currently, I think you can only get the new Y in a 5-seat variant. Are they gonna offer a 7-seat? I don't know. But for us, a 7-seat Y or X is kind of pointless because those rear 2 seats are going to be for people that are shorter without as long of legs. So for us, it doesn't make sense. But the 6-seater has been a great benefit for us to be able to haul around more than just 5 people, 6 semi-comfortably, especially just around town or whatever. Whereas with the new Y, we're limited to 5 and it will be kind of cramped in those back seats depending on how big everybody is. Some other quick things. In the X, you get the automatic doors. I push the button, it opens. I push the brake, it closes. I'm going to miss that going to the launch Model Y. I really like the launch Y, but the automatic doors, it just feels much more premium. It feels like that price tag is a lot more warranted with all these extra options that we're not going to be getting in the new Y. The camera does not fit on the front dash as well as the Y as the X, because the X you have that screen right here. We don't have that in the Y, so we don't have that nice little spot for the camera. So I'm just gonna have to hold it for this. Looking at all this, it just feels a little bit more cramped. There's not as much room up here. Like I mentioned when we were in the X, our screen is gonna be smaller. It's just the way it goes. It's a smaller screen. It's not as expensive as an X, so it's gonna be different. Like I mentioned, you're gonna miss that screen right here. Again, aftermarket options, but you are missing that. When it comes to visibility, you now have this up here instead of the glass going all the way up here, so it is gonna be a different cockpit feel. And while it still feels pretty big, I can tell just jumping from the X to the Y, it does feel a little bit more compact. Now, comparing the Y to the 3, I would say the Y feels huge and you have so much more room. So it really depends on kind of what works for you, but for the Y, it's still an ample amount, but the X feels bigger. Now, the back seats, of course, are also going to be a little bit more cramped, although if you had a base Model X with the 5-seat option, I'm sure it would feel fairly similar. Other things, like I mentioned, we no longer have automatic doors. I can push this button as many times as I want. It's not gonna open beyond ½ an inch. I have to then push it. I can't push the brake and it closes. It's kind of a bummer, but I understand it. The Model X has to have some unique features, and that's some of it. Now, when looking at the center console, kind of similar idea as the X. The X only has one door mainly, but I mean, we have everything in here. Still premium feel right here with your charging pad. Screen, smaller. It's just the way it's gonna work out. Yes, we have an update. I know, I'll be installing it soon. You do get the wheel option for the Y and the Model X. You actually have to pay more for the yoke, but I'm actually wanting to pay more to put a yoke in this, so TBD on that. Now, the Y has ambient lighting all the way around here on the front and rear doors like that. Whereas Model S and X still don't have that, which honestly frustrates me. And it frustrates a lot of you guys. I see it in the comments, I do. But that's why we actually did the ambient light in the Model X. It looks OEM, it looks professional. I installed it, there's a video, we'll link it up on the iCard, but that makes it feel so much more premium having those lights. Now, the lights for this are controlled in the car on the screen, which is great. The Model X uses an app, which honestly is just as easy to use. So some of the little things like that, I would love to see the X have, because it doesn't make sense that 3 and Y, the cheaper vehicles have, that the X doesn't. And same thing with the S. Interior lighting, I think, must come to S and X at some point. And even that X is a 2022, and this Y is technically a 2026. It makes no sense to me because they just built it in early 2025. But the fact that in 2022 they had the connectors in the doors and everything for ambient light on the Model X and still haven't brought it to the Model X is disappointing to me. I don't know, maybe some people want more ambient lighting than others, but I feel it should have it for that price point. And considering the cheaper, I say cheaper in relative compared to the X, cheaper models do have it, like the new Model 3 and now the Model Y. Now, if you're always wanting the newest Autopilot and stuff like that, that's where Y is probably gonna get it before S and X, which is kind of another frustrating point. There's way more Ys on the street. So they're gonna have far more data on Ys than S and X's. So I get it why Ys get the update first and 3s and stuff like that before S and X's, but I would still like to see that flow kind of almost reversed essentially, since people are paying a premium for the S and X. But the new Y has done a banging job on soundproofing. It feels far more like the X. In terms of like road noise and all that, far more like the X. In terms of premium materials, I would say far more like the X than the previous Gen Ys. Maybe a little bit of work still to do, but I get it. It is almost half the cost as the X, so you can't do necessarily all the premium materials, but now we have heated and AC front seats, heated rear seats. You now have like carpet in here, and that just kind of feels a little bit more premium, but also helps with sound. You get like the nice interior here, different materials that still feel really, really nice. No dark headliner though, no Alcantara in the Y. And again, I get why that is. There's a lot of whys. I understand why they kept Alcantara and everything in S and X, but not the 3 and the Y, because again, premium car, premium feel, more economical car, more economical interior. I get it. I just wish they would offer that. Let us pay extra for that. I'll pay $2,500 for Alcantara and gray buttons and all that. No problem. I just turned on that light. I would pay that, and I think a lot of others would too. So let me know down below if that's something you would like to see Tesla eventually add as well. So while we're here, we obviously have to compare the trunk space. So with 6 seats back here, you can see it is pretty tight. You don't necessarily have a ton of room. But if we want to make it a little bit more of a fair comparison, we can put those 2 seats down and you can see we have a lot more room here. Those 2 seats don't fold, by the way. They just scooch forward, which is almost a little bit of a bummer as well. But with these 2 down, I can fit pretty much anything with grocery-wise in there. And we also have the lower trunk space down here as well. Whereas going to the new Y, they have redesigned this so you can actually store that in the lower area, but you have plenty of room down there as well. And then if we actually move this, you can push it like that and kind of like go down there. Still, ample amount of space. I haven't clicked that in yet, but ample amount of space. Very similar, I would say, like this to the Model X with those seats down. So on that one, probably a wash. Now I will say on these seats, it's a little tricky once they're down because there's no buttons right here. So you kind of have to reach in, press the button to be able to raise it. Whereas in the Y, again, Y feels more premium. I can drop these seats with the push of a button from back here. That needs to go to the X 100%, no questions asked. And it's really fast too, which is so great. I believe they said it's like the industry's fastest folding automatic seats. So while we're doing a comparison, wouldn't be fair if we didn't compare a little bit of frunk space in here. So Model X has a very big frunk. This is actually my old T. We switched it to a carbon fiber one, but I don't know why they decided to put chrome. This is the only chrome on the new X, by the way. But you can see huge amount of space. Whereas if we go to the Y, still a very big amount of space, slightly different dimensions, but still, I would say, equally usable as the X in the Y. Still a great use here. Now, they actually moved the window cleaner up here, which is nice, instead of up there where it used to be. Whereas right here, on the X, that's right here, still ample space to be able to pour things in, but that spot is definitely far more convenient. I almost would venture to say though, compared to the Cybertruck, these two have a downgrade because Cybertruck has an auto opening frunk and closing frunk, whereas these just kind of pop open and you have to manually close them. So that's almost a win for Cybertruck and an L for these two. I will say though, one of the biggest reasons to buy an X are the doors. You literally can't get over those Falcon wing doors, how useful they are, how nice they are, how cool they open. You can do everything from the phone. You can even open your driver and passenger side from the phone. But these Falcon wing doors, literally so cool. Everyone loves them. They make it so handy to get in and out. You don't have to worry about like actually opening a door, because to fully open that takes what, 3 or so feet wide right here. To open this, you only need about a foot away from the car. So in tight situations, you can easily open this, but also if it's raining, you kind of got to be quick in and out, because otherwise you're going to get rain everywhere. Whereas this, when you're under here and you open the door, I'm protected from the rain. So this makes it more convenient, but also since there's no door swinging out, if you need to get something big in and out of here, you have no obstructions, which honestly is huge, and I love that. I almost for a while here wanted to make this X a 4-seater and remove this middle row altogether and just have the 2 front seats and the 2 rear seats and have this open for like the dogs or whatever. I ended up not doing that because that would take a lot of work and probably throw some error codes and whatnot. But like sitting in the back of the X, let's go ahead and close the doors. Yeah, I'd definitely say sitting in the back of the X, it feels roomier. The nice thing with up here is since you do have the center section, they have the little cutouts in the roof. That makes it feel like quite a distance before your head would hit. But it just feels roomier, I think, because the captain seats. Now, if we had a 5-seater Model X, I think this back seat would feel very, very similar to the Model Y. But honestly, the 6-seater is the only way to go in my book for a Model X. I said what I said. So over to the Y, there's actually quite a lot of distance here. I actually almost want to say from the back seats, the Y might feel more open because you don't have that thing down the middle or anything like that kind of closing it in a bit. You have this huge glass roof. So almost from the rear seats, the Y gets the win here. I will say it does feel a little bit tighter, again, because we do have an additional seat here in the middle, but also this has an armrest, which I absolutely love. X does not have an armrest. You only have the armrest on the doors, whereas here you have this, you have your cup holders. X has them under the screen. Speaking of screen, I haven't even removed this yet, so no judgment. Waiting for my screen protectors from Abstract Ocean because that's the only place that we have bought them from. That's why you see all the fingerprints up there too. Soon we'll have a screen protector. But this screen is definitely smaller in the Y than in the X. So there's also that. But I mean, here you have pockets on the back of your seat, which I want to desperately get rid of. Some people might like these. I hate them because passengers tend to put stuff in there and then it gets forgotten about and lost. And I don't really care for these. Maybe someone else does, but it's an option. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you can get rid of it. But kind of like I was mentioning, it's harder to get back to anything in the trunk in the Y. However, they did actually add this. I think we can click on the seats and I can now, for the new Y, the previous one didn't have that, fold that side while sitting here. So that's gonna fold the 20%, or 40%, sorry. 20% in the middle, 40% is where I'm sitting. And you could access things if no one was sitting there. So that actually is kind of nice. Okay, I'll give them that. I do really like that. And then I can actually just unfold that and it's gonna put it right back up very quickly too, might I add. Love that. I believe you can actually do just this, yep. So you can do just that. I mean, you do have a nice little thing here, but I guess this kind of creates it like the 4-seater Model X. You have the 2 front seats and then you have that seat and this seat and then this is open. So like, okay, we can work with this a little bit more. So I think the only thing is this is not automatic. So now I'm gonna have to manually do it. Overall, I would say the Model Y in the front seats versus the Model X feels a little bit smaller or tighter, whereas the rear seats almost seem a little bit bigger because you do have that roof back here. So who really wins this? It's really a matter of preference, honestly. What's better for you? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And I have to open this door manually. There's no button, no Falcon wing door. Eek. He has grandpa shoes. He really likes his white shoes. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Oh, striking a pose, striking a pose. Wow. They match the vehicles. Exactly. Okay, so David is now joining us, but let's go ahead and kind of talk about which vehicle is better.
Well, it depends on your needs.
100%. It really depends on your needs. It depends on your budget. Honestly, I would say budget over needs. Because again, that Model Y, you can almost get 2 of them for the price of this. As shown, obviously you can get some cheaper models if you'd go with just base of everything, but at the end of the day, you can essentially get 2 Ys for the price of this build. So it really depends what your budget is. Do you like the extra bells and whistles? Do you want a bigger screen that will rotate? Do you want Falcon wing doors? Do you want a smaller car that is more efficient, like the Y?
Do you want room for 6 or 7 people? And we're not talking about little toddlers, because you can get a 7-seat Model Y, but...
So actually, the new Model Y...
They do not offer that?
I do not believe they have started offering it yet. I'm sure they will.
But yeah, but you're not going to have adults in there. When you can definitely have adults in the back of this one, especially for shorter trips. But for road trips, you can easily fit 6 people in this car.
And the X actually ended up being our main road trip car. We only did a few in it, but road trips in this felt amazing. But also it's like, are you accustomed to air suspension? Because you can only get that in the X. You can't get that in the Y. So really, it is 2 completely different vehicles. One's a little bigger, one's a little smaller. There's so many different things that are different between them. It's really a personal preference and what works best for you and your family. For us, we love the X. The X is our ultimate vehicle. Don't take us the wrong way. But the Y, because we do a lot more content, is a little bit more relevant. So it also, like, there's so many things that go into it, but if you could only have one, either the Y or the X, no budgetary restraints.
Well, I would probably still choose the X, just again, because you have so much more room.
Yep.
And again, look how efficient it is. Over the life of 21,000 miles, we've only used 306 watt hours per mile.
Yeah.
That's less than like what they used to get on the earlier S's.
Yeah.
And so for such a large vehicle, that's amazing how aerodynamic is and how energy efficient it is. Yes, the 3 and Y probably use less, but you can't fit 6 or 7 people in them.
Oh, 100%. It's just like the X is the Fabergé egg.
The Fabergé egg. I've heard that somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere. Of Teslas. It is such an amazing vehicle. I'm so happy with it. It's going to be a bummer when it sells. But at the end of the day, I think the Y might be a little bit more beneficial for us because also I have been daily driving the Cybertruck. You work from home, so you don't necessarily need a daily driver, but the Cybertruck is insane on its watt hours per mile. It's
not
like
nearly as
almost
efficient.
500.
Yeah.
So really, the Y is going to become my daily driver. If you ever need to go anywhere, you can take the Cybertruck or the Y. And we'll still have the Cybertruck now for road trips because we have free supercharging on it.
Yeah, and another thing too is we don't have typically 6 people. So while
Exactly.
we do like the extra room for like trips to the airport and stuff like
dogs.
that. Or dogs. We don't need that every day. So the Cybertruck will be good enough for us on road trips, especially with the free supercharging. And you know, if it's not too far, or trips to the airport, we can still do the Y or whatever. But definitely on road trips, we'll be taking the Cybertruck and all that cargo room we have.
Yeah, so now that we kind of talked about everything, let us know down below, what is your preference between the Y and the X? Would you rather take a new Y or a new X? Let us know down below. Obviously, if budget was never in question, I would take the new X every day. But at the end of the day, budget is always of concern. And the new Y is so compelling. What they've done with it,
Very nice.
very nice. I'm not saying the old Y is bad by any means.
Oh no, we
But
had a couple of those as well.
yeah.
They were great.
But the new Y is so good. So good. So let us know down below and we can continue the discussion down there. Just wanted to give you guys an update and kind of go over some of the big differences between the two, give you our opinion, and now let's talk about yours. But that's basically it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, a thumbs up if you did. Go and click here to subscribe, here for some other ones, and we'll see y'all in the next one.